Right. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So my name is Michael. I'm going to present a research topic, reverse logistic capability for sustainable development in a pharmaceutical industry. So this studies is conceptual papers we present so far. We had the researchers, including the Bill Wang from Auckland University of Technology, Peter Shi, and Geoffrey Chow from the Australia. Is there any chart? Sorry. Yep. So this studies, we look at the how we're going to improve the reverse logistic operations. We look at the reverse logistic capabilities for sustainable development. So we think about the topic, the words. Reverse logistic is a very old terms, but today, there's a lot of the um, interchangeable words like circular supply chain, green supply chain, but eventually we decide we're using the reverse logistics because the reason here we want to focus on the fundamental operation in the reverse logistics. So as you can see, we look at the conceptual framework from a logistic management perspectives. Right. So the presentations, we're going to talk about the introduction briefly about the project and also the key concepts, and also we'll talk about the theoretical background, the research questions, and we'll briefly talk about the conceptualization of the reverse logistics, and we will go through the discussing and conclusion. So first of all, introduction. So this is topics we going is from the one of the projects we look at how to reduce, minimize the waste. So we look at the reducing the waste. One of the issue would be from a logistic perspectives, how we're going to recycle and reuse, remanufacturing those products and materials, and to minimize the negative impact of environmental issues. So we look at the reverse logistic actually providing a very important role in this type of the operations, and also this topic addressing a very important issue about the sustainability. This has come from the one of the scientific topics talking about climate change, and also this based on the globalizations, international supply chain becomes longer and also more complex. So the reverse logistics actually is a way how we're going to deposit or rearrange the inventories and rearrange the goods. So reverse logistics actually played a very important role. And also we look at the literatures, we can see in the green supply chain initiatives, reverse logistics actually is one of the elements, basic elements in the green supply chain. But a very few studies really focus on the reverse logistics. It often talking about sustainability with this reverse logistics, but these studies we purely focus on the reverse logistic operations and look at the capability perspectives, how we're going to improve, optimize the key, identify the key capabilities, and that will help the managers and researchers to understand, provide the directions to optimize the reverse logistics. Um, and also this is part of, contribute to the waste management, how we're going to improve the sustainable development. The reason we choose in the pharmaceutical industry is because this pharmaceutical industries often involved very complex the returns and also the lot of the policies regulations on the pharmaceutical industries. So this study can well cover from the multiple stakeholder point of view. Of course, the frameworks and ideas can be tested in the different industries and also can be generalized and verified in the organization as well. So basically, reverse logistics, most people know, is delivery the goods and services from the point of consumption to the forward supply chain. But today, the reverse logistics are now closely related to the sustainability, waste reductions, green and recycling. And also, reverse logistics played a very important role to improve the business sustainabilities and how to, reducing the waste and also improve the environmental performance. As we mentioned earlier, as very few studies has been conducted focused on the reverse logistic capabilities. So the theoretical background. So in these studies, we focus on look at the reverse logistic capabilities, as we mentioned. We look at how, based on the definitions, we know logistics is understand delivering the right product in the right quality and the right time and the right place for the right price in the right condition to the right customers. So reverse logistics actually is returning products and material from the point of consumption to the forward supply chain. So how we can understand the process and also optimize the performance of the, from logistic perspectives is the questions. So far, it's three research areas based on the literature review. Reverse logistics issues, involved the management of the recovery and the distribution of the end of life products, and also including the production planning and the inventory management, and also the third areas including supply chain management issue in reverse logistics. So in this studies, we using based on the resource-based theories and also dynamic capability theories. To utilizing the resource and capabilities to develop the competitive advantage. Most companies now focus on adding the value to the multiple stakeholders. We focus on look at how we can improve and the logistic capabilities and what's the key capabilities and providing the strategic directions, implications for the managers and the researchers. So this is definition I put here, logistic management, because I want to emphasize this study is focused on the logistic management. So that's why I put the as the subtitles from the logistic management perspectives, because today we look at the literatures. There's so many articles address the reverse logistics, but very few articles look at the reverse logistics in the logistic operations. Most people think it's just a very simple return process, and it's been long discussed in the literatures. But today, in the fourth industry revolutions, industry 4.0s, there are so many new technologies and changes. For example, the COVID-19 and also the natural disasters. They cause a lot of the natural supply chain disruptions, and also look at the China-US trade war. That's caused so many uncertainties and risks. So today is quite different. As we said, it's increasing the complexity of the supply chain and how we can look at today's issues. So that's why we look at the issues from the logistic management and revisit the problem from the reverse logistics. The pharmaceutical supply chain. So we the studies based on the pharmaceutical industries, as I already mentioned briefly, because the pharmaceutical supply chain required a very complex return process. It's not just a return, and also the reuse, and also redistribute the like overstocks, and also some donations being reused in the different countries or the different locations. And you can see in this model, we look at the pharmaceutical industry from the suppliers, manufacturing, distributors, hospital, pharmaceutical clinic, and to reach to the final customers, patients. During each stage of the supply chain, they generalize the different type of the waste, and require the the reverse logistic to handle, to manage, and we're using a different color of the arrow to indicate the different type of the flow, goods flow. In these studies, we focus on the physical goods flows, and also and how we're going to managing the waste. So this is a research questions. We look at how we're going to what are the key reverse logistic capabilities that logistic service provider needs to better serve their customers reverse logistics in the pharmaceutical industries. So based on the previous studies, we conceptualize the reverse logistic capabilities from the key attributes. We've identified it's a 5 capabilities, reverse logistic capabilities, including the technology, innovations, customizations, responsiveness, and the flexible operations. As you can see, technology has become an important elements in the logistics, and but a very few study look at the apply those technology in the reverse logistics. And also innovation is also is a key concept to look at how we're going to apply because most previous study focus on the forward logistics, traditional deliveries from point of the origin, from suppliers to the retailer, distributors, reach to the customers. But a very few, studies look at the reverse back. But if we look at the return process, it's quite different from the traditional logistic and services, and it's required a high level of the customer services. Think about yourself. If you buy something online, clothing or shoes, and you received and you don't like the shoes or the size of the or materials of the items, you would like to return, and compare to maybe 10 years ago, and it's become very difficult. But today, you see the technology and also the better customer service flexibilities, and make it easier for return process. But we look at in the pharmaceutical industries, it's different stories because it's highly regulated industries. Legislations require the certain bio waste have to be destroyed through follow the certain process and procedures. And also to look at the hospitals, it's from this custom logistic service provider perspectives, they required customized services to better serve the return, rather than to handle the normal process from the delivery from the supplier to the customers, and how we're going to recall the products, and also and focus on the responsiveness. It's how quickly to react to the respond to the customers, and solving the customer problem and issues. And we also found flexible operations is not only the important factors in the traditional logistics, and also is important in the reverse logistic capability as well. Okay, so this is a conceptual framework. We identified 5 key reverse logistic capabilities. As we mentioned, we propose that technology is part of we should be considered as a part of the reverse logistics um, capability. So the managers should pay more attention to those new technology, such like the IoT sensors and also the packaging, how we can, improve the sustainable environmental performance to apply using those reusable or improve the traceability and to better managing the inventory, not just for the forward traditional logistics operations. And also the other key finding from this conceptual framework, we focus on the customer services. So that's why we put on the customizations and also the responsiveness as the 2 important capabilities the manager should focus on to improve in order to optimize the reverse logistics operations. Innovation, it's always a key in today's supply chain to managing, resolving those new issues and the problems, and also continue to improve the performance. Because this is from logistic point of view, and as we see, pharmaceutical supply chain is a very complex systems involve the different stakeholders. Some people might confusing, if we look at the multiple stakeholder, how we can conduct, get those ideas. So that's why we, in our discussing sections, we focus on the hospital perspectives, because hospital is one of the major player or stakeholder in the pharmaceutical supply chain. So they played a very important role to ordering and supply, distribute the products, and also they generalize multiple type of the waste, including the waste disposals and also return inbound, such like returning from the patients or also from the clinic, and also they have the return outbound delivery. They deliver it out to the back to this pharmaceutical company suppliers, and also that's including the uh, um, uh, returns or the donations, because if you look at the pharmaceutical industries, overstocks like some kind of the medicines and drugs, if they haven't been used, and they can be donated to the different countries or different area or location regions for reusing. So this is from the hospital perspectives, and we simplify, focus on the one stakeholder, and to look at to develop the reverse logistic capabilities. So the other findings we proposal in the discussings, we look at from the dynamic capability views. From the key capabilities we discussed, there's 5 capabilities. So we propose the dynamic capability. We include the technology, innovation, and customization capabilities. So the dynamic capability is a higher level of the capability to can influence or modify the operation capabilities. And we trade the functional capability. We consider responsiveness and flexible operation capability as the operation capabilities. Responsiveness capability can be simply understand like customer services. For example, when you need to return the items, the first contact point would be the customer service in most organizations. So customer service plays a very important role in the traditional logistics supply chain and also in the reverse logistics. Even now we're using the new technology, label, pre-print labels, return labels, but we still need the customer service to managing those uncertainties and unexpected issues. So as customer service definitely is an important contact point in the reverse logistic operations. So the managers should look into it. And the flexible abilities has been long discussed in the operation and the supply chain logistics operations. Has been well discussed. Flexible with the delivery times, flexible volumes, and also how you're going to improve. And so from a dynamic capability point of view, for example, innovation capabilities, they can help the organization to improve the customer service and to improve the operations. But for the different organizations, like, they have the different structures, have the different situation, like, different type of the scales, and also locations. So innovation have to be focused
Sorry,
on the
Michael.
individual organizations.
To
Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, so that's our studies so far is look at the conceptual framework, but the future research can be wide look at the different industries and also in a different context, because reverse logistics almost can cover every industries. If you look at the logistics supply chain, that means everything. Without a logistic and supply chain, you can't get delivered. And how to improve the reverse logistics would be the other questions. How to in the future, how to reducing the cost of the recycled materials. Definitely, reverse logistic operation cost is the key areas. They can reducing those the cost of return, and also the concept should be tested in the different models, because this is a measurement model. We can see for the concept reverse logistic capability, they can be tested in a more complex structure models, and also in a different um, scenarios. All right, I think that's all for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael. That was very interesting. A lot of work has gone into it. We
Yeah,
can
thank
see.
you.
Anybody got any questions that you want to type in? Can I just ask, Michael, say the pharmaceutical industry is kind of very wide and broad. Would there be a difference maybe in terms of the likes of medical waste as opposed to the likes of finished stock and overstock? Is there
Yeah.
differences there that are coming up?
Yeah, that's a very complex return process and procedure. That's why I put on the title from the logistic management perspectives. We focus on the peer focus on the logistics, but in the future, and I say that's why I put the hospital as the individual or the single stakeholder, look at from the hospital perspectives to look at the different type of waste, and also return inbound delivery and return outbound deliveries. But in the future research, it's quite important to engage with those pharmaceutical industry, with the different stakeholders. So this study is providing a fundamental work, or the framework that should be further refined and also test in a different story or different scenarios or the different organizations, because some organization might require better customer services, some organization might require the better technology to support recycling. And you mentioned a very good interesting question about the different type of the waste. Yes, there is a different type of waste. If you look at the reverse logistics or waste, or I suggest if anyone wanted to look at the topic, they look better focus on the waste management in the pharmaceutical supply chain. So they have different procedures and requirements from the medical pharmaceutical perspectives to require, have to be disposals or have to be recycled, or they have to be, go through the different type of the procedure or to be returned. Yeah.
Thanks very much. Anybody else got any questions? No, I don't think so. Thank you, Michael. I think that was really interesting.